It's Friday night, which means it's time for another episode of the Friday Night Nicktoons podcast. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Casey. Last time we did our second episode of our Avatar The Last Airbender watch.
We also put out our weekly Twitter poll asking you guys, if you were flying bison, which of Sokka's attempted catchphrases would make you fly? Elevate got 12%, Ascend won with 34%, Yeehaw had 27%, and Wahoo also had 27%. So pretty even other than Elevate. People really do not want to move for Elevate.
You guys got it wrong. You messed up bad. This is important stuff and you blew it. I think it absolutely should have been Yeehaw or Wahoo, but if I feel that way, maybe other people felt that way and the vote got split.
Oh yeah, if you combine the Yeehaws and Wahoos, right, then they've got a pretty solid chunk there.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know why I group them together, maybe because they're the two that aren't actual words.
Yeah, it could be. They're a little less formal than Ascend and Elevate. I don't know why Elevate and Ascend are so different though, right?
Yeah, me too. Maybe it's the positioning in the poll, A versus B.
Maybe. These are the things that keep me up at night, guys.
Like, people don't want to vote for the first one unless they're really sure of it. It's like a test.
They're like, Elevate, no, that won't do it.
Yeah.
Ascend, yeah. Maybe they were thinking, they hear these all in order, right? And first you hear Elevate, and you're like, I'm not flying. And then you're like, Ascend, and you're like, yeah, okay.
Now we're getting somewhere, yeah. And then there's some other two, but I'm not going to look at those. But certainly one of our most meaningless Twitter polls. There's not a whole lot to analyze here, but Ascend won. It doesn't quite do it for me, but hey, I'm not you as a flying bison. Only you are you as a flying bison. So there you have it.
Beautiful words, Casey. Beautiful.
This week, guys, we are covering KaBlam for the first time ever. I have never seen this show. I have seen the spin-off show based on one of the shorts, but I've never seen KaBlam at all, knew very little about it. I think we got cable. I remember when we turned it on, it was already on Nickelodeon when we first got cable, and the SpongeBob Suds episode was on, so we got it after that, whenever that came out, which was decidedly before KaBlam.
Yeah, I feel like it seems like it's one of those things that's vaguely in my memory, kind of like what Rocco's was for me before. Like it was definitely on, it existed, but I don't have any memories of the show itself other than its existence was kind of around. So it was an interesting watch. We've got a lot to talk about here. Also, be sure to follow us on Twitter at FNN_podcast and Facebook.com/FNN podcast, and review us on Apple Podcasts so that others can find the show. Also, make sure to check out our YouTube page. We've got a playlist going for the Avatar watch as well, so plenty of good stuff there.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Now let's get started.
From the Nicktoon Animation Studio in Hollywood. Hollywood.
Alright guys, as Casey said, we are talking about an episode from KaBlam. This one entitled Your Real Best Friend from Season 1, Episode 1. Originally aired October 11th, 1996.
And this episode was in the 2007 Nick.com 100 Greatest Nicktoon Episodes Countdown, which, we will admit, has a lot of recency bias of 2007, and isn't quite scientific in its polling, I think, Ashley.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say as well, but I figured that there being a KaBlam episode in there meant something somehow. There
are good episodes on it, for sure. And this one is the pilot episode and the first episode, so we're going to come down on the animation a little bit, or at least I am, but maybe we should check out one that isn't the pilot to see if it got better. But regardless, this one's the pilot, and it introduces Henry and June, who explain how KaBlam is different from other comic books. We have 4 segments, which are Sniz and Fondue, Action League Now, Life with Loopy, and Prometheus and Bob. And in between all of them, Henry and June have little antics and vaudeville-type interstitial moments. And yeah, that's the show. There's certainly nothing else like it on Nickelodeon. It's a very vaudevillian sort of variety show feel, and it really just feels like straight up junk food in a TV show, and I mean that in the best of ways.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Again, given it's a show that neither of us really watched before this, something that I've heard pop up now and then, and I don't know what I was expecting, but it's something. It's, I do enjoy Henry and June as our weird sort of hosts going on. They've got some interesting meta moments going on, too, where they're like, this is the part of the show where, what do we do again? And
I get eaten by a black widow. Yeah, I think they're great hosts, and they're really sort of charmingly animated, even if it is, I think, pretty sloppy looking. It's cute. It's supposed to look like a comic book. It's not supposed to look perfect. And they're very likable hosts. Their banter is great. I don't know which one we are, Ashley, between the two of us, who's Henry and who's June.
That's hard to say, but I can say that we collectively are Henry and June
100%.
somehow. Does that make sense?
Yep. Exactly. And I remember when in the theme song they previewed some of the shorts to come, and I was like, oh, the action figure guy, I remember that. And I later realized I remember it because Action Hero Now, it's called, was on All That, and it also had its own show in the early 2000s, a very short-lived one-season wonder.
Yeah, it's a weird little watch. I will say, and I think we take these kind of one by one, but hands down, Action League Now is my favorite of these 4 bits that we've watched here. I'm not 100% sure, I didn't read too much into it, if KaBlam has a whole bunch of different segments. I know Action League Now definitely came up more than just this once, but I don't know, how recurring things are, if that makes sense.
Yeah, me neither.
How big the list is.
I doubt it's the same 4 every time.
I would guess the same, yeah.
Let's hope it's not the same 4 every time. Although I would watch a Prometheus and Bob spin-off maybe once.
I would definitely watch a lot of... Well, you know what? Here, I'm looking at it now. The regular shorts are Sniz and Fondue, Action League Now, Life with Loopy, Prometheus and Bob, and then there's one called The Offbeats as well. So
there really aren't many others of
No.
the regulars.
No, so I guess they really are just these, which is weird to me because some of them felt a little bit not like they would have any more than what we saw.
Maybe they found their footing later, because in a
that's
way,
fair.
this is like 4 pilot episodes, right?
That's true. So a lot of things that they've got to go working off with. So it's a little bit weird. But let's start off with the first one here, right? So we've got Sniz and Fondue, and in this one, Fondue's really annoyed because Sniz keeps coming into his room, and so he buys this literally murderous scorpion in an attempt to keep him out of his room, and the scorpion escapes. That is an entire concept. I was like, look, there's a somebody keeps coming in my room. That's annoying. I'm going to put something in my room that could kill them.
And
literally
it is
kill them?
That's in the text.
Yes.
The scorpion is poisonous. The stakes couldn't be higher for our first KaBlam skit ever.
Yeah, he goes to this really sketchy pet shop where he's all these only rare and illegal animals are sold here, and then he says, "One sting and oh baby will you die." So
yeah, that was funny. Yeah, I like, I almost called it Bumpy Snitz, which is the guy in Party Wagon. I enjoyed Snitz and Fondue. Or is it Sniz?
Sniz, I think, right?
Gotcha. Yeah, it's whether you're doing a German Z or
yeah, I don't remember anymore for sure how it was pronounced.
I think
it's
gotta be Sniz, right? This show is as American as it gets.
That's true. It's no, it's fun. It's a pretty short clip overall too, and
it's very 90s. Someone says to him, "What a sick purchase," about the scorpion, and sick has sort of made its way back, but it's very dated in the best of ways.
Yeah, and the delivery of it too. The whole thing. It's great. It's great, and Um, we we get this kind of weird resolution to everything too, in that this murderous scorpion ends up getting thrown out the window. It lands in this like little girl's sandbox.
It's really stressful. Like,
She just like hits it with her shovel straight up, and like I was terrified. I was like, she's gonna die. Like, this is it.
yeah, I was like, I don't know about this KaBlam show. I don't know how far they went. It was a different time in animation. I thought this little girl might die.
Like this might be, but she's just fearlessly is like, nope, I don't want that scorpion there. I'm just gonna kill it with my shovel. Like,
And it's
I don't
very
know.
funny too. The physical comedy of it. She
Oh, it's
just
great.
pummels it.
And there's like kind of a pause too, right, where you think maybe she's gonna run away screaming or something. Like, nope, she just does it. She's just in for it. She's in for the kill.
It's a nice subversion of expectations there. Very Seinfeld. The like frail little girl actually kills this dangerous scorpion.
Yeah.
And then we get back to the Henry and June stuff, and it's super meta. And we sort of referred to this earlier, but then they're like, now we're at the part of the show where what happens now? And he's like, oh, is this the part where there's supposed to be a spider? And then they're like, ah! There's this black widow spider that's pretty terrifying looking.
And they're fun in general. They, like I said, they're there just for the right amount of time. I feel like they give you some sort of an introduction, right? Like I can't remember exactly what they say, but they're like, oh, this next clip has, action figures, something like that, or superheroes or something. Like, you do feel like you're led into the show pretty well.
Yeah.
And they do make this sort of weird situation where we've got these four very mismatched shows, all playing together well.
And I'm reading that they were all produced by not only different creators, but different production companies entirely.
That makes sense. They are shockingly different.
Yeah. It's like the Oh Yeah cartoons.
Yeah, I'm almost interested as to like the history of this. I feel like there's got to be some fascinating stuff going on in there.
Yeah, and some of the people went on to cool stuff. Like one of the guys from Snits and Fondue went on to create Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Oh, no way.
Which I sort of see, I guess. Maybe, well, the little girl beating up the scorpion is totally something that would happen in Courage.
100%. Yeah, definitely not as terrifying as that is, but, We do then, though, move on to the crown jewel of this episode, in my opinion. Action League Now.
Yes.
It's what do they call it? Chuck-imation, not animation.
Because they throw the action figures.
Yes. I love it.
Really clever.
And at first, I was, like, a little skeptical. I was like, this looks really dumb. Like, we just see action figures, like, in a car. I was like, this looks like something that you see in, like a middle school film project when you're first learning how to use a video camera. I was like, this is going nowhere.
You don't have younger siblings, so you might not even be aware that this happened, but my first vibe was, oh geez, this looks like a late 2000s Cartoon Network, like, desperate grab for young viewers, where it was called CN Real, I think, and there were like 4 or 5 shows that were live action, and they were just so low budget and poorly acted and not funny. And it totally looked like Action League Now was going to be one of those. And I could not have been happier to be proven wrong.
Yeah, it turns itself around very quick. I quickly went from, oh god, what's happening? This is going to be the worst, to this is hilarious.
Yeah, and it starts with the character introductions for me, which reminds me of when the SpongeBob characters become superheroes and they do their little introductions.
Absolutely, I had the same thought, yeah.
And they get to the main guy, the Flesh, and they say he's super strong and super naked.
I died. I was just not prepped for it. I wasn't ready. And another thing that just really works for me is they're saving the day from this litter bug, and the main villain is in, like, an actual car, like a human being car, and they're in this little RC car, right? And the first thing they say is, like, something about, like, oh, and the Action League is prepped as always, and we get to them singing Row, Row, Row Your Boat in rounds, and it's just great. Like, I don't even know how else to explain it other than, like, it's just lovely. Like, I wish I could be in the recording room of these people because I, like, can hear them having a blast.
Yeah, it is. And when the car actually crashes, it looks pretty real. Like, I didn't think that looked fake or cheesy at all. It looks like an actual car explosion.
Yeah, it was pretty violent, too, honestly.
And just the
terrifying.
lame one-liners are great. The bad guy is going, I don't give a hoot, I pollute. It's just the stupidness of that line plus the delivery really got me.
Oh, it's perfect. I don't even know. It's just great. I like how they get in this, like, game of chicken or whatever, right? And the car their little RC car just gets wrecked. Like, as you would expect from this tiny car, but I don't know. It's just gold. There's, what was the thing? What was her name? Thunder Girl. That's it. Okay. Mm-hmm. She falls off of something or something, then she's like, that didn't hurt a bit. And then she gets crushed by the car. And then somebody else in the team is like, Thunder Girl, this is no time for a nap.
Oh, that was great. And they do have a real commercial break with a cliffhanger, too. I thought that was clever, to go to real commercial in the middle of one of the segments. Really smart idea. And I thought this whole thing felt like it was set in the Angry Beavers TV universe.
Yes. Like, I could see the Beavers watching this.
Yeah. Oh, they would love it. They would love Action League now.
They would love it, and as they should, because it was great.
Uh-huh.
It's just, and it's a very easy plot, right? Like, they are just action figures, superheroes, I guess, trying to stop the bad guy, and they do, and that's, like, the entire thing, but it's done so well, and there's so many just random little over-the-top moments, and I would have loved to have been in the room of the people who decided this, too. Keep saying I just want to be in rooms, apparently, but,
yeah,
like,
I want to be
them
in
being,
rooms,
like...
too. Yeah, that would have been awesome to have, like, or how this was originally conceived, too.
Right, that's what I mean. Just, like, let's have some action figures, let's film them, like, it sounds ridiculous. And, again, even when you first see it, it feels ridiculous. Like, I feel like this must have been kind of a hard sell, right? Like, my first 10 seconds into watching it, I was like, what is this crap? Like, I would be almost nervous to put this in front of people, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm glad it got picked up, because it's good stuff.
It's like Frank and Thumb, or any of the Thumb movies. Do you remember those?
Oh, yeah, there was I don't even remember the others, but I definitely saw, there was, like, a Titanic one, I think.
Yeah, they're so funny. They're really dumb, similar to this, where half the joke is just they're acting with their thumb body language. Just faces poorly animated on real human thumbs on, like, a puppet show set.
Yes. And, you know, part of what I think, I think works for this for me, too, is it kind of brought me back to the days of, like, playing with action figures, right?
Yeah.
And, like, playing with these types of things, and, like, you give them their personalities and their lives, right? Like, but they're not, like, it's not like a Toy Story situation. They're not animated, right? We're literally just kind of looking at them, and it kind of feels like how you picture the whole situation going down when you're a kid and you're playing with these, right? Like, oh, I'm the bad guy, I'm doing the bad things, and you have, like, your cast of characters. I don't know how often you, Casey, personally did this, but I built many casts of characters in my day, and it felt a lot like that, too.
Yeah, with my brother Jake, we would build entire worlds with, like...
Yeah.
And it was just like how they do in this show. You're so right. We would mix, like, Pokemon cards with Lego guys, with board game action figures and stuff. Yeah, there was no cohesion to it. It was just whatever we had around.
And that's what's going on here, too, right? We've got these action figures that don't belong together. They're not a part of a set, and I love that about it. It's just like, it just feels like, again, some kids found some action figures, and they're throwing together this cute little scene, and
then they add the zippy one-liners, and it takes it to a whole nother level. Like, when the bad guy's car explodes into a burst of flames, he goes, is it hot in here, or is it just me?
It's beautiful, and I can honestly talk about this for the rest of forever. It's by far, again, my favorite of these four. It just worked for me in a whole lot of ways that I wasn't prepped for.
And then we get to Life with Loopy. And then Prometheus and Bob. I have very little to say about life with Loopy.
There's a girl, there's a sister, she wants friends, so she builds a robot.
It's deceptive, too, because Loopy it doesn't start with, like, it's about Larry, kind of. Like,
yeah,
Larry's
he's, like,
the main
writing
guy,
about
and then he's got a sister, Loopy.
He's writing about his life with Loopy, right? It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're not experiencing life with Loopy, we're experiencing somebody who's experiencing life with Loopy.
It's like if As Told by Ginger made Carl the main character, and was just like us viewing him through Ginger.
And it's weird, too. We do kind of have him narrating, too, right? Mm-hmm. And it does not work well for me.
No.
There's, again, that the robot takes over the appliances, and it's just kind of weird, like, it's this weird, like, robot uprising. The only part that kind of got to me for some reason was that this robot that's built to be her friend, whatever, decides to start, like, delegating out the world that they're going to take over, and he's like, this bread slicer, you can get Idaho, and the microwave gets China, and that was, like, the funniest moment of the whole thing to me, was just the idea of, like, this is how, like, clearly this is not how world domination is going to work out, right? Like,
right. But I think all of these do capture that sense of childhood wonder well, and that's why the show succeeds, including Life with Loopy. Like, there were elements of it, like you just said, that were, like, relatable or funny, or just felt like playful kid energy.
Yeah, for sure. It's another one of those things where maybe it did find its stride other places, but it just was not necessarily this specific clip didn't work for me so well. I didn't love the animation style either. Not that, like, Action League now has obviously got its Chuckimation, and we've got our the Sniz and Fondue's animation wasn't, like, amazing to me. But something about Life with Loopy's animation was, like, it didn't... I don't know how else to put it other than, like, it just didn't... I didn't like it. It's kind of, like, made out of paper, almost. I don't know. It just didn't work for me.
Me neither.
But I did like... I will say I like that there are different styles going on for each of them. I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah, me as well. Me as well? Is that a phrase? Me too. I really liked Prometheus and Bob, though, the final short.
Yeah, definitely a step back up, I would say. I'm a big fan of claymation in general. I think is just kind of a fun thing going on.
And just the idea that an alien has to teach a caveman things. Like, who came up with that? That's ridiculous.
I like the way they introduce it, too. It's kind of a weird concept. They're like, this is from the future. This alien goes back in time to teach this caveman things, and they found all of these records, and they're known as the Prometheus and Bob tapes or something like that. They have, like, an official title.
900,000 years ago. And the canon is pretty tight. Like, if an alien did time travel back, they could have the technology to film these tapes in the past.
Yeah, it checks out. And somehow it comes to us, but it doesn't, it's just a fun concept.
Maybe aliens taught us all of our weird human quirks.
It makes sense. Some of the things we do, I feel like, are quirky enough that they could definitely not have been our doing. You never know.
Yep. And there is, I think my favorite of the Henry and June little interstitial moments is before Prometheus and Bob, where they just take 2 watermelons and just stuff their faces with them. I don't know, it was so funny looking and ridiculous.
It just, and I think they said something like, now's the time where we shove watermelons in our faces, or something. Like, they just, like, they announce it, and it happens, and it's so quick that you're like, it's gold. It
felt
really is.
Like an iCarly bit, but as a cartoon.
Yes. I don't know if there's a whole lot else to add here.
Just the pledge.
Oh, yes, of course. I'm an idiot. They go through the Pledge of Allegiance. I don't know if this happens every episode either, or if this is just a one-time thing. But, oh boy. Oh boy.
Very Ren and Stimpy, just taking the Pledge of Allegiance and replacing it with ridiculous phonetically similar words like the excited snakes of America.
Yes, that was really the best line I feel like of that, and I don't remember it obviously, but just them, saying the pledge, making me feel all patriotic and stuff. This week of the 4th of July, it was a
Yeah,
it was a fun moment.
You could say this is a 4th of July themed episode.
Yeah, we'll work with it, guys. We'll work with it. But it's fun and it's lighthearted. I felt like it was just a good way to close off the episode. Wordplay and all, and it's very similar to what was the My Country 'Tis of Thee. That was the one
what
that
did they call it? The Royal Canadian Kilted Yaxman.
Yes.
For being the royal. That still is my favorite Ren and Stimpy moment.
Yeah, and I think that one beats this one out by a little bit, but either way, it's fun. And
Well,
the
they
whole
don't get
show
the
is
reward of going to hell in this one.
wild things happen in that
The
episode.
great reward. Oh man, but yeah, it's a fun show. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm glad we watched it. I wouldn't watch a ton more of it, but clearly an important part of the Nicktoon history. Even though it's kind of a fringe Nicktoon, it certainly is one. Is the thing. I don't know why I thought it had more live action in it. Maybe just because of the action figures.
Yeah, well, it looks like I'm reading through too. It looks like there's at least one short that existed that was less regular called, hold on, where did this just go? Race Rabbit was a live action show, it says.
At that.
And then there's like this Adventures of Patchhead as a live action / computer generate. I wouldn't mind if we find another episode, if we ever do KaBlam again, I wouldn't mind trying to find one with a new set of shows to get a look at, just because I think it's such an interesting concept, and just to kind of see random little bits of things that ended up, on this show. I feel like it's such an interesting piece of Nicktoon history for sure.
Yeah. Do you, like me, forget that Nick does things other than Nicktoons?
I forget that Nick does anything now, to be honest with
true,
you.
But
back in the day,
Nick
even
in the 90s had probably more live action programming than cartoons. Like, I'll bet it was close.
Yeah, now that you mention it, yes.
It is, because we don't think about that at all.
I mean, I watched a decent amount of their live action shows too.
There was Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah.
Clarissa Explains It All. The stuff that was a little before our time, but maybe with older siblings, you might have experienced more than I did.
I feel like maybe we just only watched the cartoons.
Maybe.
I know I wasn't allowed to watch Are You Scared of the Dark as a very young kid. I just have this very vague memory, and I think it's because, and by I think I mean it's definitely because I was a very easily frightened kid, and it would keep me up at night and stuff.
Interesting.
So my brothers got to watch it, and they were like, "No, Ashley, you shouldn't do it." And I was all upset. But to be fair, if I did watch it, I probably would have been scared, like the pathetic child I was.
They were looking out. But really, Drake and Josh was probably the first live action show I loved, if you don't count the Amanda Show, because I loved the Amanda Show.
Oh, I loved the Amanda Show. The Amanda Show was my life. That's an exaggeration, but it was great. It really was.
The first time I saw the Amanda Show, I remember thinking, this is the pinnacle of comedy. Nothing in human history can possibly be funnier than this.
Oh, it was hilarious. It was honestly just every episode, every line, and I'm sure it's one of those things that if I watched it back, it would be rough is a strong word, I think. I'm sure there's some genuinely funny moments in there, but definitely less funny. She would do those prank calls that were definitely not that funny.
Well, the old man, I thought was hilarious. Whoever he was, what was
That's
it?
True.
One
He
of
was
the main
great.
guys? Was it the dad on Drake and Josh?
Was he?
Old Man Amanda
Maybe.
Show. I'm not. I'm Mr. Oldman. Oh, it was
I
Dan
almost-
Schneider.
No way!
Oh, that's awesome. Mr.
You know what,
Oldman.
Casey? Just for our own good and like not for the podcast, we should like find some episodes of the Amanda Show and watch it.
Yeah.
And I remember
I
they
watched
did
a
that
little
thing.
in college, and it mostly holds up, honestly.
They did that thing too where like you would get to see the set and they would all like pop off or whatever, you know what I mean? Like you got to see the show. It felt so, I don't know, it felt so interactive. Do you know what I'm talking about?
There was a live audience, and it
Yeah.
was, and of course the Moody's point.
Oh my god, it never finished.
Yeah,
Tragedy.
The mom is still out there, and the dad still doesn't have a toe. That's always a great when you're okay. We're way off track, but this is worth getting into, I think, as we talk about this era of Nicktoons. If you want to like instantly connect with other people our age, there's a good bet if you drop a Moody's Point reference, someone in the room will get it. And it's always awesome because most people haven't thought about Moody's Point in like a decade.
Oh man.
It was a very obvious Dawson's Creek parody, but of course when you're a kid you don't know what that is. And
I was gonna say I didn't know any better, right?
and I actually found them boring at first. I was like, oh, it's because there weren't Moody's Point would be the whole episode of the Amanda Show. It wouldn't
Was
be
it?
a
I thought
sketch.
it was like half. No, am I wrong?
Maybe it was a half. I seem to remember it being long.
Maybe it just felt very long to you.
That
See,
totally could be.
I remember being like pumped about it and like I wanted to know the ending, and then it just like never happened, which like it totally doesn't matter. But I remember
Penelope
very
Taint too.
Oh yeah, oh she's gold. Who is Amanda?
Right.
And that one shook me when I figured it out. You know.
Me too, because they always do those close calls where they have like an obvious body double playing real
Yes.
Amanda.
Oh, that's great. All right, but we're a little off track from KaBlam here.
little.
Just a
But
dash.
I think it's in a similar world to
is.
KaBlam.
And I think kind of a similar sketch comedy sort of a deal going on as KaBlam. So, but I think that wraps up about everything I wanted to say. I don't know if you have anything else.
No, I'm good. It's a charming, wacky, I think just junk food on the TV screen is how I would describe it.
Agreed. All right, shall we move on to our conclusion?
Let's do it. Alright guys, our Twitter poll this week is, which Nickelodeon variety show is your favorite? And we actually wrote this before our Amanda Show discussion that we ended up having, so hopefully it doesn't influence the vote too much. But your options are KaBlam, The Amanda Show, or All That. And there might be another variety show in Nick history, but I'm not really aware of one.
Yeah, these are the three that come to mind for sure. And obviously Amanda Show's a little bit more in our memory, but All That was a pretty big deal too. I'm pretty sure that's where Keenan and Kel got their start, that their show happened first. I don't know, one of the two.
I think they spun off of All That.
Did they? That sounds right to me now too. Anyways, it was a big deal at the time. Definitely have lots of fond memories there too. So it's kind of a tough call to me. I'll have to think it out. But anyways, next week we are getting back to our Avatar watch with the third episode of the series. So if you're keeping up with us there, get ready. Make sure you watch episode 3 before, so you don't get anything spoiled.
Yeah, very excited. I really look forward to these Avatar ones. Not that I don't love the even-numbered FNN episodes like this one, but when it's an Avatar week, I am locked in and ready to go.
Absolutely.
And we got our social media. We got a Twitter, a Facebook, YouTube, and of course, Apple Podcasts. Keep those reviews coming in. Thank you guys so much.
And with that, thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Nick, 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 Nickelodeon. Nick, 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 Nickelodeon.